Hey everybody, Alex here for Nerdy Inc. coming at you with another episode of Our Favorite Frontier, the only Star Trek podcast on the internet that's hosted by me and Nick. Hey Nick.
Hey Alex, how are you?
I'm doing great. Would you like to know why I'm doing great?
Why are you doing great, Alex?
Because, at long last, we're finally done with Season 1! We're finally done with Season 1.
I noticed that we were.
Yeah, it's been a long road getting from there to here.
Almost had me quit. I'm
Yeah.
still here. I'm still standing. I beat Yar.
You did. You lasted longer than Tasha Yar did. So,
I didn't think I was going to.
yeah.
I also didn't know I had competition.
Anyway, we're celebrating because we just finished watching the episode The Neutral Zone.
First Officer's Log, Stardate 41986.0. We are awaiting the return of Captain Picard, who was summoned to Starbase 718 for an emergency conference. Meanwhile, our sensors have been monitoring an ancient capsule floating in our vicinity, which appears to be from Earth.
Nick, what
Yes.
did you think of The Neutral Zone?
I thought it was a very tolerable episode. I would say mostly enjoyable. I actually liked it. There were flaws I had, and I will discuss them, but it caught my attention. It kind of gave me like an old feel of the older show.
Mm-hmm.
And it had me captivated when we are going to get introduced to our main enemy, or which I'm assuming will be the enemy for the remainder of the series, as you mentioned, the Romulans. Unless they are not the enemy, and there's a greater enemy beyond them.
Well, we'll discuss that in a little bit. Basically, I'm going to largely agree with you. I thought I was going to hate this episode once I realized sort of what the bit was. I was like, oh no, there are people from the past. But I ultimately ended up feeling very favorable towards this episode, but I have a few flaws. But we'll get into that. So, Nick, what happened in this episode? Give us a quick recap here.
Okay, so they are trying to get to the neutral zone because there are some outposts that have been destroyed for the Federation, and they believe the Romulans are probably responsible, and they are going to meet with the Romulans for the first time in about over 50 years. So that is like what the objective of the ship is. Meanwhile, they find a satellite, and they discover that there are people who have been cryogenically frozen, and 3 of them have been able to be revived, and there's a subplot of these people kind of being like, hey, where am I? Like, we're from the past, all this past stuff. Just kind of confusing and kind of getting in the way of this really important objective and important meeting. They finally meet the Romulans, and they find out that the Romulans have experienced a very similar fate with their outpost. So they ultimately agree to try to find who is responsible, but you do realize the Romulans are not playing nice, and they are going to be very hard to deal with and a possible threat in the future. And that was the episode.
Indeed. So, as has sort of been the case for most of these episodes in Season 1, there were 2 halves of this story. One was the Romulan threat, and one was the people threat. I shouldn't say people threat, more just the people from the past, sort of.
Yeah, they're there.
Their story. That story was... I guess my big complaint with this episode is that I didn't feel like either issue ever really got resolved.
Nor explained well.
Yeah, the Romulans were just there as a tease, basically. They're just, like, they straight up said, we're back, and then that was just a cutoff. It was basically just reminding the audience, like, hey, remember these villains from the old show? Well, here they are again, and we're going to see more Romulan stuff in the future. Which is fine, I guess, but it was a little bit of a letdown to just know that, oh, there's some big threat out there, no one knows what it is, and we'll have to figure it out later. As far as the people go, they never really get resolved either. They just sort of sit there, and eventually the one guy who's a giant douchebag sort of realizes, oh, Picard's busy with like a real problem. I'm just going to be quiet now. And then
No, he doesn't. He goes right on the bridge.
No, and that's when he sort of realized, like, Picard's doing a tense negotiation, because originally Riker goes, get that man off the bridge, and he's like, I'm not going anywhere.
But he still interjects.
He does interject, but after that point, when they say get him off the bridge, he sort of is quiet. He's like, oh, okay. and he sort of doesn't fight back much longer. He doesn't fight back as hard. And that's me being generous, by the way. I'm generously describing that as a character arc. It's really not, because I don't feel like it gets resolved overall. It's just sort of like, okay, we're going to drop these people off on someone else. So that's my big complaint with the episode, is that there's not really an ending to it. It's just kind of a tease / just the episode stops happening.
Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, for a season finale, they could have done, like, an extended episode or whatever. But then even LaForge is like, oh, we can bring them. It'll take us 5 days to bring them to Earth. And then there's like, nah.
Let's let them torture someone else. Tell someone else's spaceship.
Yeah, it's like
for a
they
little bit.
really they're just like, you know what? We're kind of sick of this subplot.
Yeah, and ultimately, I think that the humans I think those 3 people being brought back from the past was kind of irrelevant to this. Not irrelevant, obviously, but the episode we could have just had a nice, fun Romulan episode with suspense and intrigue, and there's someone spying on us, and we're trying to, like, that could have been a cool finale episode.
Yeah, but you gotta remember, I mean, you have to remember, as well as you've been reminding me, this is, what you're saying is the inferior season. They probably couldn't fathom a full 40 minutes of that.
That's true.
Yeah, it's just kind of disappointing. You get these 3 characters and you're interested. You're captivated. These people are from the 21st century. You want to know more about them. This guy is talking about his money. This lady's talking about her family. This guy, the other guy, he doesn't really talk about his music career at all, even though they set it up at the beginning and it gets brought up at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Like, never mentions it the entire time. He just talks about drinking and wanting to be friends with Data. But, like, it would have been more fun to hear a song that he did or know what the other guy did and why he feels like he's powerful. Like, what kind of business was he in? Or, like, you get to actually meet the ancestors of the lady. Like, they set up all these premises of, oh, I'm interested to actually learn more about these characters, even though they're minor characters, because they're a mystery. Imagine if we stumbled upon people who were frozen from the Revolutionary War era. Wouldn't you want to know more about where they came from? And wouldn't you want some resolve for them? Like, oh, they met your family. Like, you have a relative who was in the Revolutionary War, right?
That's true, I do.
Yeah, wouldn't it be cool to meet him?
Yeah, it'd be great.
And if he, I feel like he would probably think the same thing.
Yeah, he'd like to see the current, maybe he wouldn't like to see the current political landscape, but he'd like to see the internet, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure there's, like, a lot of things that they would like to see, like to do. And I think as an audience member, if you're looking from the outside, like, let's say me, if your great ancestor from the Revolutionary War came here, I'd want to see how that played out, because that's entertaining to me. And as an audience member, that's exactly how I felt in this episode, and I never resolved it.
And the thing that I thought really could have helped, the country music singer, as you mentioned, he doesn't really go anywhere. He's just sort of like, I like drinking martinis, and this Data guy sure is interesting. He didn't really bring a lot to this episode, and the woman had some interesting points about, like, oh, I'm out of time, I don't know anyone, where do I go? That's fair. The thing that I thought would have been the most interesting is if we focused on sort of the business, I guess we'll just call him the businessman, because it's not really ever explained what he does. He just has money in bank accounts and has lawyers and has people and
Good for him.
He does. Yeah.
I wish I had all those things.
I wish I had people too. But anyway, they spent a little too much time sort of doing like moral posturing, basically saying, well, we don't have the need for things in the future and we move above it. What would have been interesting is if we got a little bit more of them interacting in the way they interacted on the bridge. Meaning, we think we've moved past this. Like, Picard realizing, there is something I could learn from this man who has sort of this hawkish negotiation ability, or this ability to read people. Have him be like, this man, you know what? I thought we've progressed beyond him, but you know what? We have something we could learn about him because, things aren't perfect with our relations with the Romulans. And in so doing, the man could realize, I can learn something from these future people about using my talents to help a greater good rather than to help myself. If we had those sort of people, if we had that sort of relationship between Picard and, what's his name, Offenhouse?
Business guy.
Business guy. If Picard and Business Guy sort of butted heads at the beginning and then realized that they could work together and learn from each other, that could have made the story have a better conclusion as opposed to no conclusion.
Yeah, I feel like every episode has had something really, like, could have put the mark on. Now, is that because we've advanced in storytelling, or they just really fucked up?
It's that they really fucked up.
Yeah, I feel the same way, but I wasn't sure if you had some other insight with your vast knowledge and, obviously your profession of cinematic stuff.
No, we will. I'm looking. I look through the episodes of. I look through the episodes in the future of what's going on with Star Trek. I don't recognize a whole lot of episodes from season 2, but I remember a couple of them. We have some great ones, and they do really lock down their format and really start hitting home runs soon. So that's the good news. The worst is behind us for the most part. We got one episode of season 2 that's ass, but we're not even going to review it, so it's fine.
We're not going to review it.
No, it's the Shades of Grey. It's the clip
the clip show.
The clip show. You can watch it if you want, but it's stupid, so you don't have to.
I don't think I want to, honestly, because that'll be just clips of season 1, and why do I want that?
Yeah, it's beardless Riker. So overall, fair episode. It kept us interested, but it was just sort of kind of just a big blue ballsy episode. Mm-hmm. The one thing I will say regarding the ending is that the Romulans are not our main enemy. Though they are back and though they continue to serve as antagonists, this episode was used to set up someone else. They didn't mention him by name, but all you know is there's another threat out there who is bigger and badderer than the Romulans.
That whole negotiation thing was intense. I thought they set up that whole pre-meeting and then during the meeting. I thought that was all very well. I was interested. I'm like, oh shit, they're coming in. They're cloaked. They're there. They don't know what's going on. They're trying to figure it out, and then they appear. I'm like, oh shit, they're kind of scary. They talk extremely intimidating, and the entire time I was like, I am terrified of these people, and they did way better of a job than the fucking Ferengi when they tried to build that up and then it just fell flat on its face.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that they did really well too. Was it'd be one thing if they said, if they said, oh, we're going to meet with the Romulans, and one person of the crew, I don't know who, someone's like, the Romulans, who are they? And then everyone just says, the Romulans are scary. We need to be afraid of the Romulans, blah, blah, blah. They didn't do that. Instead, they said, we're going into the neutral zone, and everyone sort of froze and got, you can tell by their reactions that we need to be afraid of the Romulans, not because they told us the Romulans are the bad guys. Mm-hmm. So it was really great how the importance of the Romulans was conveyed through the emotions and dialogue of the crew rather than them just basically explaining it for the audience.
Yeah, I thought that entire experience was intense, and I really liked that. And I hope they build more on that kind of drama because, honestly, I've just been watching these episodes. I haven't really had emotional investment in them. Mm-hmm. And that was the first time I felt an emotional investment being like, oh shit, what's going to happen to these guys? I really care about these people, and I really want to make sure they don't die. These guys seem kind of scary. I hope you guys can deal with them. First time I felt like that. With the entire series.
Nice.
So, I feel captivated. That was a captivating moment.
Yeah. I would like to go back to that meeting in that boardroom, though, for just one moment. Because at the beginning of the episode, Data goes to the spaceship with Worf, and they find the people, and they say, permission to beam them aboard. And Riker's like, all right, yeah, bring them over. And then
Because he's the captain.
And then Picard comes back. He's like, all right, we got to meet in the ready room. And they meet in the ready room and they talk about the Romulans and how they're going to the neutral zone and blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, all right, let's regroup in 6 hours. And everyone stands up. At this point, don't you think Riker should have told him, oh, by the way, Captain, while you
We
were
have
gone,
these people.
we brought over these people. Because the only reason Picard finds out is he casually goes to sickbay, and Barry's like, oh, by the way, the people are awoke up. And he's like, what the hell are you talking about? And she's like, remember the people we beamed over? No one told me about this. Why wasn't I informed?
Well,
That was
Riker. I think Riker was thinking Picard was getting written off the show too.
That's true. Maybe that's what it was. Riker's like, now's my chance.
I'm just gonna do it and just unprovoked action. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes I do that at work. I'll do something, and then I'll 2 weeks later they'll be like, Nick, why did you do that? And I'll be like, well, I just kind of felt like I was in charge at the moment, and I didn't feel like I had to check my power with anybody. And then I get yelled at.
Yeah. That was just the one thing that I was like, you could have just, it's not additional dialogue, because you would have just taken away the dialogue from the sickbay and put it at the end of the meeting, and it wouldn't expand or compress the show in any way. It just would have made them not look like morons that didn't know what was going on their own ship. That was the only thing that just jumped out at me. I was like,
No,
wow,
I have a few things that jumped out at me.
hit me.
Okay, Crusher says the phrase, and I quote, "They should be up and about as soon as possible."
Up and about.
She says about the people, like after the sedation, they have been sedated. They should be up and about as soon as possible.
That doesn't
That's why I wrote it down, because that is a flawed sentence.
Yeah, it's a very flawed sentence. It doesn't sound good at all.
Awful. I like that they gave themselves 60 years to extinct television from the time the show aired.
Yeah, that was a bit of a
That's a stretch. It's 2018. We're watching this shit.
yeah.
I hardly doubt that in 22 years we're gonna stop watching television.
Yeah, that was that.
I mean, we still listen to the radio.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
It's some of the things that Star Trek predicts. I don't really understand why they predicted that they'll go away. You know, they want to predict television will go away because we're trying to make a point about how lazy people are who sit around and watch television, which is a really good point to make if you are writing a television show. Just insult your audience. Good. The other thing, but there's some things they didn't mention it in this episode, but in the Star Trek universe, baseball is extinct, and it's like, why? What's the beef? What's everyone's problem with baseball? That just baseball went away. Sometimes I don't understand the predictions that Star Trek makes.
Well, why didn't they explain it to that guy who wanted to know how the Braves were doing? They could have said "Oh, baseball's extinct."
The only in-canon rationalization that I can provide is they didn't know what the Braves are.
Okay.
That's the only solution I can attempt to offer.
Do you feel baseball will be extinct? I mean, Futurama did the same thing. They made a different sport.
I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say I don't think baseball will go extinct.
I think football will.
If medical science continues to prove that football is horrible for you, it's possible that football will.
You mean as a consumer watching it, it's horrible for you? That's how I feel.
No. I'm saying football will go away. Football may undergo fundamental changes to the sport if it continues to come out that it's horribly, horribly dangerous for the people playing the game
and for its audience to watch it. I feel like I have a concussion sometimes when I watch it.
Well, it's just because I can't agree with that. I hate football, so
Yeah.
I will agree with that. But I know there's lots of people out there who like watching the footballs.
I love just a segue about football for a quick second. I love when I'm watching football and they refer to it as the football, the physical, vessel. I'm just like, just call it the ball. Don't call it the football. You're adding an extra syllable and it just never sounds natural when you say it.
Because there would be no other ball on the field.
Yeah, what about the other? There's no, there isn't a soccer ball out there. There isn't a, he did intercept the football. The football. Why? Just say the fucking ball.
Fair point.
And it's not even a fucking ball.
It's an egg.
That's why it should be extinct.
Yeah. The only thing I can think of is if sports. I mean, I don't see them going out of style anytime soon.
I don't see sports ever going out of style. I mean,
The closest prediction I can make in a Star Trekian type future is if eventually it almost becomes like the Olympics, where you have people performing who are good at baseball and they play baseball, but it's, you don't really hear about it till every couple years when everyone comes together and they really play baseball. Because I mean, how often do you watch professional snowboarding? Never. But it's the Olympics, and now it's time. Oh, okay, let's watch some curling. That's my only prediction for what if in a Star Trekian future is sports sort of go similar to the Olympics, where it becomes more of a
every once in a while thing, but when it is, you're really into it.
and it's a big grand competition between the Vulcans versus the Klingons, like that, something kind of like that. I don't know.
Who do you think would win a Vulcan Klingon baseball game?
What if I told you there's a Star Trek Deep Space Nine episode devoted entirely to that question?
You're telling me that there is a... You're telling me there's a baseball game between Vulcans and Klingons?
No, it's between Vulcans and the crew of Deep Space Nine, which has a Klingon on it.
And it is baseball.
Yes, the episode is called Take Me Out to the Holodeck.
That is an awful name. One, let's talk about how awful of a name that is. It's not even... I mean, I guess it's punny in a sense, but that's painful. That's sheer pain. I'm never going to get over that.
The best thing about that episode, too, is Deep Space Nine is is more of a darker, more serialized Star Trek. Like, there's more of an ongoing story, more than any other Star Trek to that point. And they're in the middle of a giant war with the Dominion, and then they're just like, oh, but we need a baseball episode right here. So it's like everyone in the war just decided to stop having a war so they could play baseball.
But that actually happened in
Yeah.
World War One.
That's true, you're right. Well, the thing is, though, with the Vulcans and Deep Space Nine crew, we're not at war with each other. So it's like one side of the war went to start playing baseball and just let the Dominion just be like, all right, well, I guess we're just going to win the war now.
We're going to advance here.
Yeah, it'd be like if that World War One thing you're describing, I believe you're describing the Christmas armistice.
Yep.
It'd be like if one trench decided to stop having war, and then the other one was like, well, we're gonna win now. Yeah.
Yeah, because trench warfare ends when one particular side stops trench warfaring.
Yeah.
Was there any other points I wanted to make? Oh,
We're horribly off track, so let's...
I know. Well, I you know what? I think our audience is going to enjoy this.
Yeah.
I don't care. I mean, I do care. I care about their safety. I like that the only real mention of country music was the weird country interlude music.
Yeah, that was funny. I noticed that too.
And I was like, okay, that's whatever. Also, the lady trying to find her kids on the computer refuses to say her last name the entire time, which I think would be the most important part, besides date of birth and where they were born, to finding the identity of somebody.
Who's your kid? Tommy. What's his last name? He was born in Secaucus. Not what I asked.
He's 8 years old. Not anymore.
Not anymore. Also, what's his last name? There are lots of Tommies in Secaucus.
There's only one Tommy in Secaucus.
Ever.
And how convenient that the great-great-great-grandkid was also named Thomas.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. How many Alexes do you have in your family?
I think just one.
Yeah.
There's all besides me. One additional.
Oh, besides you, there's another Alex.
There's another Alex. Although
weird.
to be fair, I mean, I guess obviously he was first. It's my grandmother's sister's husband.
So you don't have another Alex in the family, is what you're telling me.
Well, he's my great uncle.
Yeah, but he's not like your great uncle.
I just said he's my great uncle.
No, he's not. I mean, he's not blood related to you, so he's not really your uncle.
True, but
He's just some dude who married someone in your bloodline who just hangs out for an indefinite amount of time.
yes, but he was there first.
I'm not gonna count it.
Okay, fine by me. I will gladly take the role of premier.
He's not Alex
premier.
Russo.
I will take.
He's not Alex Russo.
Well, that's true, but I will gladly take the role of the premier Alex in the family.
I know you will. I figured you were going to anyway.
So I guess we're done talking about this episode.
Yeah, I mean, I thought we went on a good tangent.
Yeah, it was an okay episode. There were obviously some big flaws with it, but it was engaging. I was equally interested in what was happening. So it's more than I can say about some of the other episodes this season.
Well, tune in next week when we discuss the episode "The Child."
Indeed, the first episode of season 2. You're in for a couple big changes.
I read a slight description on the Netflix, and yes, those do sound like rather large changes.
Yes, but also the other good change is that Worf is going to start wearing a yellow shirt and his makeup doesn't look as stupid.
I don't know how I feel about that. Worf in a yellow shirt. I like him in the red.
Also, Geordi starts wearing yellow.
So Geordi starts wearing yellow. Worf starts wearing yellow. Worf has a better head. We're adding a cast member. Someone will be expecting a child, I hear.
That's true.
And Riker has a beard.
So many changes.
God, I don't even know if we'll be watching the same show.
That's a good thing, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. I'm kind of excited about it. We'll see you next time, everybody.
We will see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Our Favorite Frontier is hosted by Alex Russo and Nick Caladona, edited by Alex Russo, and produced by Nerdy Inc. Be sure to follow us on YouTube to catch all of our videos, as well as like us on Facebook, Twitter, and whatever other social media we have.